Well, I am back in the United States, and the first thing that happened after I got off of the plane is breaking news. The 49ers have addressed one of their outstanding contractual situations. The defensive tackle, Alfred Collins, has signed his contract, and everyone was wondering how much of it would be fully guaranteed. The answer for you is 88%. $9.1 million of Alfred Collins' $10.3 million deal is fully guaranteed. So we can say 3 down now, 29 to go around the NFL. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this had been a league-wide problem, and I guess it still is a league-wide problem, minus the 49ers, minus the Houston Texans, and minus the Cleveland Browns. They've seen their 3 second-round picks now sign. Alfred Collins, not for 100% fully guaranteed, but in the case of the Cleveland Browns and their linebacker Carson Swessinger, and in the case of the Houston Texans and the receiver Jaden Higgins, both 100% fully guaranteed contracts. There had been, and there still is, dispute around the league because in years prior, only first-round picks had received fully guaranteed contracts. And all of these deals are pre-slotted by the collective bargaining agreement. So the 49ers signing Alfred Collins 4 years, $10.3 million, there was no wiggle room in that money. But there was wiggle room in the amount of it that would be fully guaranteed. So in the past, the CBA had dictated first-round picks, fully guaranteed 100%, but it had stopped there. This year, the top 2 picks of the second round, and we're talking Swessinger and we're talking Higgins, both signed 100% fully guaranteed deals. And that led to a massive impasse throughout the rest of the second round. And this deal for Alfred Collins, setting it at 88% fully guaranteed, 11 picks into the second round, sets precedent now for the rest of the NFL. So the 49ers, Alfred Collins, they're both trendsetters in this case. Now you're going to see the tidal wave of other second round picks sign their contracts because the amount had to be set. The fully guaranteed percentage had to be set. Last year, the number 11 pick of the second round, which is where Alfred Collins is this year, received 78% fully guaranteed of his contract. So now Alfred Collins is 88% fully guaranteed. The players picked just ahead of him, Nick Emanwuri is one of them. That's the safety who plays for the Seattle Seahawks. He's going to be a 49ers divisional rival. He's going to sign for probably close to 100% fully guaranteed because he was the 3rd overall pick of that second round, all the way down through the rest of the round, beyond where Alfred Collins was picked at the number 43 or number 11 of the second round. Those guys are all going to sign for deals with fully guaranteed amounts on a sliding scale. And one of the big reference points is going to be the total that Alfred Collins just signed for, 88% fully guaranteed. The defensive tackle can now get to work. Rookies have already reported. Well, everybody except for Alfred Collins reported for the 49ers on Tuesday. Collins had not yet reported. So technically it was a holdout, just like Trey Harris, who was the number 23 overall pick of the second round for the Chargers. He was the first holdout because the Chargers asked their rookies to report this past weekend. Well, now Collins can get to work probably as soon as tomorrow. 49ers veterans will then join him and the rookies next week, and training camp is going to begin in earnest. As you can see in the picture here, that's on Adam Schefter's tweet, Alfred Collins is a really tall guy. His wingspan, over 7 feet long. When Collins was on the field for Texas last season, the Longhorns allowed only 2.9 yards per rush. So he's got some length that he converts into power that is part of this 49ers effort to try to get better on run defense because, boy, these guys really struggled on run defense over each of the past 2 seasons. For the first time since 1981, the 49ers used their first 5 picks on defensive players. We know that it worked out really well for them back in 1981. Ronnie Lott was one of those picks, and they went on to win their franchise's first Super Bowl. They doubled down on defense in this draft because that side of the ball had seen a big erosion in performance, especially in run defense. So you look throughout the 49ers' 5 defensive picks, all of those guys, it seems to me that they are aiming their fire at stopping the run. First with Mykel Williams, who they consider the best edge setter in this 2025 rookie class. And then in this second pick with Alfred Collins, just signed today, 88% fully guaranteed. Alfred Collins, well, if they're trying to emulate what the defense had done in the past with Robert Saleh, they hope that this guy can deliver the type of length to power production that DeForest Buckner eventually was able to give the 49ers. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but you can see the vision because Alfred Collins was so good against the run at Texas. And he also had the awareness to play the pass. I think he could still develop as a pass rusher. So can Mykel Williams with that number 11 overall pick in the first round coming out of Georgia for the 49ers. But consider the fact that Alfred Collins had 7 pass breakups just last season for Texas. They also had Jahdae Barron on that team. He's a cornerback. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, which goes to the nation's best defensive back. Jahdae Barron had 8 pass breakups last season. So Alfred Collins, a defensive lineman, had just 1 fewer pass breakup. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that he's got great awareness. Even if he's not getting to the quarterback and no defensive line is going to get to the quarterback on every single snap, he is able to stop, scan the field, survey where he's at, use that height to his advantage to be able to see over offensive linemen, and then use his wingspan, combine it with some athleticism. So got some coordination, right? To be able to bat some passes down. That's where 7 pass breakups come from for Alfred Collins, who's, by the way, cousins of Trent Brown, former 49ers offensive tackle, probably where he gets some of that size and athleticism to go with the size. That if you're relatives with Trent Brown, well, that was a big 49ers offensive tackle. Almost, when you go back to the first year of Kyle Shanahan, 2017, Trent Brown was in that system, but we always talked about, hey, the 49ers probably will want tackles who are a little bit lighter just for more movement ability on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they've gone for height, they've gone for size repeatedly. And I mean, this is part of the archetype that Robert Saleh initially inherited back in 2017 when they had both Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. They had that big time height in the middle of the defense from the defensive tackle position. And I think the 49ers are more than happy to perpetuate that now. So Collins was the second pick that the 49ers used on the defense in this 2025 draft. They also picked the 3rd defensive lineman in those top 5 picks, and that's going to be a defensive tackle running mate for Alfred Collins, and that's going to be C.J. West. And West is going to be the opposite build of Alfred Collins. He's going to be the stout 6 foot, 6'1", 320-plus pound kind of fire hydrant type in the middle of the defense. C.J. West will play the 1 technique. Alfred Collins is going to play that 3 technique position. But as Chris Kasarik told us about a month and a half ago, you've got to be very, very capable of playing multiple different techniques along that defensive line. Offenses are running motions. Offenses are forcing defensive lines to slide. Defensive lines want to be able to slide to be able to confuse the protections these days. So the 3 technique naturally is going to be a taller player like Alfred Collins with that 7-foot wingspan. And the 1 technique is going to be that shorter, stouter, fire hydrant type of player like a CJ West, but it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all assignment. You have to be versatile. And I think between the 7 pass breakups and the good run defense numbers for Alfred Collins and the high motor that he showed at Texas on a really good football team, all those things show the 49ers that he has the versatility to be able to take his athletic gifts, to take the size that he has and apply it and succeed at the NFL level. So this was important. The 49ers' entire 2025 draft class is now signed. Yes, it did take longer than it normally does in this era of preset contracts, but this was a league-wide problem. This wasn't the 49ers' problem. In fact, I would say that the 49ers are trendsetters here. The 49ers are going to help the rest of the league take care of its business in the second round because they were able to get this deal done with Alfred Collins. Other news around the league. 8-time Pro Bowl outside linebacker, edge rusher Von Miller is signing with the Washington Commanders. This is according to the insiders. That is former 49ers executive Adam Peters, the GM of Washington. Peters was a scout in Denver when the Broncos drafted Miller with the 2nd overall pick in 2011. And Al Von Miller, at the tail end of his career, is going to be rejoining an old friend in Adam Peters in Washington. Meanwhile, the 49ers looking to develop star defensive linemen of their own, starting with Michael Williams, continuing now with Alfred Collins, who is now signed with San Francisco, ready to get to work. 88% of the contract fully guaranteed. The sliding scale, we'll see the number 12 pick, number 13 pick, number 14 pick will probably come in at a little bit under 88% fully guaranteed. The guys ahead of Alfred Collins will be a little bit above that. Remember that the first 2 picks of the second round, Schlesinger and Higgins, are both at 100% fully guaranteed and at a larger overall sum than Alfred Collins, but that's all preset. That's all dictated by the collective bargaining agreement. If you want to see the exact structure of this Alfred Collins contract, I have the information for you right here. It is 4 years, up to $10.3 million, at least $9.1 million. As you can see there at the bottom, $9.1 million is fully guaranteed. That is the 88%. $4.1 million coming in right away as a signing bonus for Alfred Collins and a $1.9 million 2025 cap hit. In that way, you can see how these draft picks are the lifeblood of building a financially efficient football team. Michael Williams is costing the 49ers a little bit more than this against the cap in 2025 as the first round pick, since his contract is worth a bit more. But if the second round pick is costing only $1.9 million on the 2025 cap, well, that's helping save the 49ers some money. In fact, the entire rookie class in offseason cap space for the 49ers, and this is a big rookie class, costing them only about $6 million. By the time that they have to form the 53-man roster, if all 11 of these rookies do make that roster, the rookie class will cost $15.3 million, but that is cumulatively against the cap. So the cost-controlled NFL draft is the way to go, and we're going to be watching with great interest to see how the 49ers rookies do this year, to see if they can give them high-level play relatively soon in the 2025 season, the price tag definitely would suggest that the 49ers are maximizing efficiency in the way they need to maximize efficiency after paying a lot of A-list players. And maybe they're going to be giving another check out to, it's hard to call Juwan Jennings a full A-list player. He's had 1 season of big-time production, but he's a really damn good football player. So we're going to say paging Juwan Jennings right now, because that is the one outstanding piece of contractual business for San Francisco now that Alfred Collins has signed his deal. Juwan Jennings, well, I don't know if he's going to hold in. It sounds like he's going to be at the facility when veterans report next week, but a hold in is possible. He is upset about his current contractual situation. It makes a whole lot of sense given how well he played last year. And he's the 38th or 39th highest paid receiver in the league. Earlier today, I made a video talking about what I think will be the strategy for the 49ers to bridge the gap with Juwan Jennings. I think they're going to find something in. Just lost our mic here. I want to turn this thing back on. Hold on. Give me a second. Well, maybe it won't turn back on. We are in the stream with audio only now. We were plugged in. What we're going to do is we're going to go to this. This is kind of how it's going to be really airy and really, really echoey right now, but it's okay. I'm going to answer a few questions and then We'll probably actually the mic works, so that's good. If the mic works, then we'll just use the FaceTime camera on the computer. I think this will be fine. We're paging Juwan Jennings because that's the last piece of business that the 49ers are going to have to take care of over the course of this offseason. Anyway, let's go to the Q&A. We're rolling with it. Mike just texted me. He said, roll with it. I think we're doing fine. You know, I get off of a flight across the Atlantic Ocean. I haven't been in the country in like a month and a half, and the 49ers regale us with breaking news as soon as I land. So it's all good. I'm in Tennessee right now. Where David at? I did some shows. Somebody's asking, where's David at? I did some shows over in Europe at like 2 a.m. just so I could go live there at a reasonable time for those of you back in the U.S. Now it's 9:12 p.m. where I'm at. So I think that's a little bit more reasonable. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think I got interrupted here. What did you say they might do to bridge the gap with Jennings? Incentives. Back in 2020, Raheem Mostert, the running back, was coming off of an awesome run, right? Including the NFC Championship game where he had those 4 touchdowns. And he was set to make $2.5 million. And he was upset. He wanted to see a contract that better reflected his value to the 49ers. So Raheem demanded a trade through his agent, Brett Tessler, when he wasn't getting much traction with the 49ers. They didn't trade him. They wanted to keep Raheem, and they ended up finding fair ground to bridge the gap through incentives. They basically doubled Raheem Mostert's earning potential with over $2.5 million in incentives. So $2.5 million was his base earning potential, another $2.5 million plus in incentives to bridge the gap until he ultimately hit free agency and he left the Miami Dolphins. Juwan Jennings is going to be working on a different scale because he's at 7.5 million. It's a different position, but I think that incentives are something that could bridge the gap between where we're at right now. Juwan Jennings not happy because he outperformed his contract last year, and the future. And Juwan Jennings is going to be 29 next year, and he's scheduled for free agency. I think he would love to take a bite out of that free agency apple. So I think it may be in everybody's interest for Juwan Jennings to reach free agency next year, but he is under contract with the 49ers, and he's a very valuable player for the 49ers this season. So how do you get from point A to point B? Well, maybe you do what they did in the case of Raheem Mostert, and that is give Juwan Jennings some incentives. And, you know, maybe that's what they're negotiating right now. Maybe that's the sticking point, right? I think that in the case of incentives, the team obviously is going to want to make them less likely to reach. The player and his representation is going to want to make them more likely to reach, and you have to find and negotiate your way into truly fair ground when it comes to those incentives. I want my little Osmo camera to start working again. I hate the FaceTime camera, but I'll keep on taking questions, even though I don't like the camera. See, it doesn't work. For whatever reason, it just shut off on us, so I've got to keep the FaceTime camera on. Good questions. Good questions are welcome now. This is a good point on Juwan Jennings. He should have a Super Bowl MVP. But the 49ers didn't win. He was on his way to being Super Bowl MVP back in Super Bowl 58 against the Chiefs. How about that? Juwan Jennings was awesome in that game. He's been awesome in big moments for the 49ers. I totally understand where Juwan Jennings is coming from. We've seen it happen many times in the NFL before. I wrote about it on the San Francisco Standard a couple days ago. And I think, you know, my final line is the summary line that I think encapsulates the entire situation. I could put it up on the screen right here. It's worth noting that a year ago, it would have been awfully hard to predict this particular impasse with Jawan Jennings. The 49ers didn't anticipate Ayuk's struggles and subsequent injury when they awarded him a deal worth up to $30 million annually. They didn't expect Jennings' statistical explosion because he wasn't meant to be a featured weapon in 2024. But after Ayuk's season took its disastrous turn, Jennings seized his opportunity, and the 49ers have entered a new reality with their receivers. Both sides know this, and now they can turn to a familiar friend, deadline pressure, to see if it could help deliver resolution that's fair to everyone involved. Deadline pressure helped the 49ers solve this situation with Alfred Collins. Deadline pressure will help them solve the situation with Jawan Jennings. That's my prediction moving forward. It's always deadline pressure. You get some movement when training camp is here because guys need to work. You can't just sit out all season and not get paid, and the team needs players to deliver for them. The 49ers badly need Jawan Jennings. The receiver room looking awfully thin right now. A lot of question marks around that room. And, well, in the case of the defensive tackle, they're overhauling the entire defensive line, trying to get younger, hungrier, healthier. Alfred Collins is going to be a big part of that effort. So they had to get him signed. They have gotten Alfred Collins signed. Big news for San Francisco. Big news for the rest of the NFL. This is going to trigger that domino effect. 3 down, 29 to go. That's 3 second-round picks down, 29 left to sign in this 2025 cycle, just because that fully guaranteed money has been in dispute. 88% for Alfred Collins. You want to take a look at the structure of the deal, get it up here for you guys. 4 years, $10.3 million, $4.1 million signing bonus, $1.9 million 2025 cap hit. And again, I say 88% fully guaranteed. Well, that's $9.1 million fully guaranteed for Alfred Collins. Good questions, guys. Let's go. Is Alfred Collins over his injury so he can participate in training camp? They were expecting him to be over it. Yes, it was a calf. It was an issue that went back to his pro day. They were taking it easy with Alfred Collins over the course of OTAs. He obviously hadn't signed his contract yet either, so I don't think he could have signed the waiver to be out there, but there was a minor injury. It wasn't a bogus injury. It was a real thing. And they expected him to be ready to go for training camp. Wolf is asking, when is the first padded practice? I think that's coming up at some point. Probably next weekend. So obviously not this weekend. The first practice is going to be Wednesday. They usually practice an entire cycle of 3 practices without a padded practice. So they'll go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be my guess. Saturday off. I would think next Sunday. So not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday after that might be the first padded practice. How good will the 49ers be this year? They'll be as good as I think their defense is. If Robert Saleh can turn this defense around, if guys like Alfred Collins, it's good that he's going to be in training camp now because I think all the rookies need it. If all those guys take strides over the course of the season and by the end of the year, they're a top 12, maybe even a top 10 unit, this team could be a Super Bowl contender. If they're a bottom barrel defense like last year, they're not going to be good as a team. That's just the case for anybody in the NFL. You've got to have both sides of the ball contributing. I think 11-6, given the schedule, which I think is favorable to the 49ers. I think 11-6, I see people predicting that is a fair prediction, but it's still way too early for that kind of stuff. We got to focus on training camp right now. We've got to focus on how the rookies are developing and take it one day at a time. We're nowhere near the start of the regular season yet at this point. Joseph said that there were 5 plays in 4 games last year. That was the difference between 6-11 and potentially 10-7. Yes, but that ends up being the case a lot of times in the NFL. It is a narrow margin league. The NFL is unforgiving in that way. It is a very narrow margin league. So when you make slight improvements, it can often lead to result reversals in close games. And that's what the 49ers are hoping for in 2025. How good do I think special teams will be, and what impact will they have? Well, I'll tell you what, maybe somebody like Alfred Collins can block a field goal or 2. 7 pass breakups, 7-foot wingspan. If special teams just needs to be better, they just need to not screw things up. But they're shooting to actually be good. They've got a new coordinator. They've invested a lot in that side of the ball. But they've been miserable as of late, especially last year, and it has to be better for the 49ers. I don't think it can get worse. Yes, I can bring up my depth chart, but I'm not going to do it this time because we're going to have a big 53-man roster projection show coming up very, very soon. I'm going to give you guys right here a quick little preview of something that you need to go check out because this just came out a couple hours ago and now the breaking news dropped. So I want to make sure that people don't miss this. So as you know, I just got back to the U.S. Alfred Collins signed his contract. Was in Europe over the course of the past 6 or 7 weeks. Trip ended it perfectly in London. Look what we found in London. And, if you like any of this video, make sure that you go check out the rest of the interview, which is up on the channel. Camp has started, so time for a big, maybe even an epic 49ers update. I'm leaving London now, and this was a perfect ending to the trip. Phil Cornwell, British actor and comedian. He's even been in Napoleon. He's the executioner at the start of the movie. Well, he's got a 49ers tattoo and he's got a Giants tattoo. Had an amazing conversation with Phil on the streets of London. Phil became a 49ers fan in January of 1989.
Yes, and I was watching a game that I didn't understand fully. I got the basics, get the ball forward and get into the end zone. Obviously, you get 3 goes and all that. But I just was so taken by it and watching Joe Montana, to me, and I just thought he was like this sort of artist. It was something very sort of like, he's like this artist and the way he was conducting it all. And it was something very beautiful about it. And I just sort of fell in love with the idea of the Niners. Then, at that point, when they used to win Super Bowls, I thought they always won Super Bowls, but of course they don't. See, that was Bill Walsh at his peak, I think, wasn't it, Bill Walsh? Because his first season was not great, was it, when he got there? I mean, they were patient, right? Because he had not a good season when he arrived, I think, 79 or something, was it?
79 was his first season. He was around the same age as Kyle Shanahan when he started.
And he drafted
They
Montana.
went 2-14.
Yeah.
Then they went 6-10 in 1980. And then they went 13-3 and won the NFC Championship game.
And won it all.
And won it all, yes. And then in 82, I think that was a strike kind of shortened season. That was a mess. 83, they lost the NFC Championship game at Washington. But 84, 49ers get back to the Super Bowl. It's at Stanford Stadium. It's just down the street from the team headquarters in Redwood City. And they beat the Dolphins. Dan Marino.
Yeah, and they really beat them.
They kicked their ass. Yeah.
And then back again against the Bengals. No, it's that final drive, which is great to watch. When you just watch that final drive from down by the end zone, and Montana just sort of conducts these little dink and dunk going on. But Jerry Rice, hugely influential in that drive. And then Taylor, because they probably thought he was going to throw it to Rice, but Taylor's in it. There you go. And they won it.
Rice, and then Taylor hits on.
It was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty. Yeah, that's what got me in, really. I thought, what a game this is. But because people over here are a bit funny about it because it's all stop-start and they think, well, it's boring. But I don't think it is.
It gives American television the opportunity for commercials.
That's what my son said the other day, actually. It's so true. That was with Steve Young, right? Gets the Chargers as well. And no, but I love them. There's something about them. I'm a Spurs supporter, Tottenham Hotspur, and they do the same sort of thing to you. You've got it's the hope that kills you. The hope, not the despair. It's like, well, maybe this time.
Yeah. Good enough to lead you along.
Yeah, I love them. I love them.
Now, the best part of all this
It was totally serendipitous. Phil saw me walking down the sidewalk, recognized me from the YouTube channel, and we started talking about his career, but mainly about the 49ers. And then later he emailed me saying, you know, I forgot to say that I think that the biggest addition for the 49ers entering 2025 is Robert Saleh. And I absolutely have to agree with him. Robert Saleh, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, a chance for San Francisco to bring this defense back to the upper echelons of the league. They were bad last year. As long as they're in the top half, 49ers have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Here's the rest of this spontaneous, awesome conversation on the streets of London with Phil Cornwell.
And you're going to watch the rest of that. It's already up on the channel, so go check it out. But he said Robert Saleh is the biggest addition. Well, Robert Saleh is going to have one of his very important new guys in practice. Big news for the 49ers, big news for the rest of the league. Alfred Collins signing his contract, 88% of it's fully guaranteed. That should help with the other dominoes across the NFL. 4 years, $10.3 million total for Alfred Collins. That's pre-slotted by the CBA. $9.1 million fully guaranteed. Now we're all paging Jawan Jennings and the 49ers to get that situation resolved. I think it'll be resolved with some incentives. We will see if I am right. Anyway, that's your 49ers breaking news. Go on right now. As soon as this finishes, go on, check out that article or check out that video on it was just such a fun little chat that we had in London. So go watch the rest of that. That was 15 minutes long. I think it's a good little follow-up now because Phil definitely thinks that Robert Saleh is going to be a big instigator for the 49ers in 2025. All right, like and subscribe, hit the notification button. A notification button helps a lot. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.